So we're gonna put some PPF on this thing. We've washed it. We've clay barred the areas that we're gonna put PPF on, which is gonna be, this one's a full front plus one add-on. So it's gonna get the full hood, full fenders, headlights, painted section of the front bumper. And then this one also has like a lower skid plate down there, kind of like the lower bottom half of the bumper. And then we're gonna do mirrors. Oh yeah, full fender flares as well from the front. And then they added on the full rear fender flares. So the first thing that we typically do on something like this is gonna be the hood, once it's prepped. So there is one thing on this hood that we're gonna get removed, which is this badge. The reason why we're gonna remove this badge is there is a template that goes around right here or whatever. When it comes to hoods, you actually typically stretch it into 4 corners. That makes sure that you don't have any fingers across here or fingers across here. So you tack it up there, tack it up there, tack it over here, tack it over there. But if you have a template, the template has to be lined up here first around these letters, which there is a cutout for one. But the problem with that is you're gonna have to tack across here, so you're gonna have to make it stick really hard across here. Then when you go to stretch it, you're gonna have to tack it across here. Now, when you do tack it, you typically get, if you stretch it onto a body line or stretch it onto the actual panel that you're wrapping, you'll have kind of this distortion across there because it's pulling so hard. And then where you had that hard tack at, you will have a stretch line. So you'd have to like do a progressive stretch to get away from that. It'd take me twice as long to do this hood if I didn't remove this. So basically when you have these kind of complex hoods, not like that Porsche hood right there, super flat, super easy. There's not much going on there, so we can use a template for that. Same thing with like Corvettes, they're very small. The like Corvette, C8 Corvettes, they're very small. They have a bunch of relief cuts, the same relief cuts that you would cut on your own, so you might as well just like print it out and get it done. So I'd say 90% of the time, we're gonna be bulking the hood. The rest of it is gonna be computer cut though. So we'll kind of just go through that process. So the first thing we're gonna do is get this badge right here removed. Now we would do that, there's 2 ways. So we can get I'll just show you the way that most of the time you're gonna do it, okay? So we're gonna grab just a scrap piece of PPF, which is gonna be, definitely have some over there. We just grab a scrap piece. This works really well for other types of badges too. So what we'll do is we'll kind of get like a good amount of this badge covered with PPF. So I'll just get like, I'll just cut it about right here. Which is pretty good. So again, gonna cover that up. Okay, so that's good. Gonna take some PPF. I'll just take some distilled water. And I'm just gonna line this up to where it's like past the edge here. And I'm just gonna go over these badges. Put a little bit of water on there so I can have some slip. I try to do this dry because they have a hard time sticking into these letters sometimes. So I just cover up these letters real nice. That's the main part. And then I'll take this kind of like tension here. Kind of just squeegee down just this edge. And then I'll take a blade. Now, you're typically not going to be cutting on cars right as you start, but I've been doing this for a little bit, so I'm just going to show you guys. You can do this a little bit different, but I basically am going to cut right along this edge here, just as I would if I was installing the PPF and like doing my final quality control on a non-wrapped edge. And I didn't actually cut the paint. It's just cut through halfway through the film and then, you know, tear away the rest of it. I've been cutting for like 7 years. I'll have a whole video on cutting.
Gotta find that right pressure.
Right, the right pressure. And we can see there's no cut on the paint. Cool. So what we'll do is now we'll put some slip underneath here. You can even just use a little bit of gel. Gel's nice. Just don't want it to stick super hard off of the badge. So now I'm freeing everything up around the badge. All right, let me take my ring off here. And then I'll get the badge removal tool. Now a little bit about these tools. There's different levels of string that you can get. This one's like a braided type string, which is nice, kind of cuts through that adhesive really nice. When this thing tears, it's typically because it hits like a sharp edge on the badge or hits some kind of, like sometimes these things have like dowels on the back sides of them, and you kind of hit that and then it breaks, and then you do it again and it breaks. So if it keeps breaking at the same point, come at it from the opposite way. So what we're gonna try to do is we're just gonna get underneath here and, you know, I have my alignment point right here. It's pretty much centered, the two E's in the middle of this grill here. So when I go to put this back on, I'll get this on right between here and then line up this edge, and we'll be good. We'll be able to remove the adhesive on the backside of this, put fresh adhesive on the backside of these letters, because these Jeep letters, I've called on them a few times, they're like 70 bucks. Okay. Like sometimes they're even like 120 depending on what color they are. But if this was a Corvette, I just get new badges, because new badges are like 50 bucks. And this whole process, start to finish, takes about an hour. Yeah, I got it right there. And I'm not rubbing on the paint. I'm pulling, and once I get underneath it, I'm kind of like making sure that the braided lines are staying, not like dragging across this part of the paint or dragging across that part of the paint. I'm just kind of keeping them at an angle, and I'm making sure that that string also doesn't get behind the PPF. It's just going to be behind the letter itself. So once that's off, that whole badge is free now, and we could just take this. Another thing, when you're lifting badges off of paint, try not to like pry, because these edges of the badges can dig themselves into the paint and cause like a paint chip towards the end. I've learned that the hard way, so just don't do that, specifically on Teslas. But yeah, so once this is free, if you're having a hard time, just try to like wiggle it and like keep a constant pressure out a little bit, and then just kind of like wiggle it. And it's all free. Sometimes it just kind of sticks it back to itself a little bit, and that gel helps it kind of not stick back to itself. So now you can see we have the badge, and we actually don't have too much adhesive left behind because we've pulled up on it, which is good. This is super easy to take off. It's just this stuff right here, it's kind of hard to take off without messing up the adhesion to the PPF. So we will soak this in like a Geon tar or some kind of tar remover or adhesive remover. It'll help soften this up, and then we'll be able to just literally peel off these right here. And then it also, while doing that, it takes the adhesive off the PPF too. So it's nice that it doesn't like stick hard when we go to try to put it back on. So yeah, kind of kill two birds with one stone there. So we're actually gonna stick this in a Ziploc bag, which are right here. We just got a new set. See here. Oh, I'm just gonna damage this. Here. There we go. Just gonna grab one bag out of here. Boom. Just gonna set this on there for a second. And I just don't want the adhesive to kind of fold onto itself. So I'm just going to try to get it in here as flat as possible. Right there. And then just kind of store this. You can either store it at the bottom of your cart, or typically we'll put it somewhere like this, you know, right there. That way it's just not going to get bumped or moved around too much. Cool. So the next thing is we're going to wipe off some of this gel. You can actually even just like rinse off the gel. That works nice. But we'll just take a towel because we're going to need it anyways for this next part. Wipe up all this real nice. And for this next step, we're going to use an adhesive remover wheel to remove the adhesive. I already know how, you know how to do that, but I'll just do it for the camera.
You want me to grab it?
Yeah, go ahead and grab that. I'm looking for one more thing. Just gonna grab some alcohol, put it on this cart. Each PPF cart should have alcohol, straight alcohol, right? So I'll show you guys real quick here. Get this out of the way. Some of the scrap. So I grabbed straight alcohol because it evaporates really quick, and it'll actually dry out this the leftover adhesive in here, like really, really dry. And that's kind of what you want before you go and try to remove it, because if there's any moisture in it, it is really hard to remove. So this adhesive wheel, it's made by 3M. It's pretty much the only one that we'll ever have. There are some other ones. They produce so much, like they wear out a lot as you're doing it, and it just makes for a really hard time. You can actually even see that this is starting to get really sticky. See? So that's really good. That's what we want. So when we're doing, there we go. When we're using this adhesive wheel, you would think that you'd have to go super fast. Don't go fast. Just keep it easy, slow. What you're trying to do is you're trying to grab an edge. So you're trying to like, this thing's gonna spin this way. You're trying to like grab that edge and almost like move it into itself. So you'll see that as I start kind of doing this. Just go really slow, grab an edge, and just work down from that edge. Super slow. And I'm not using a ton of pressure, I'm just kind of using enough pressure to keep the wheel attached to the surface. And you can see it just brought off a huge chunk, and that was about it. So now we're just going to do the rest of these letters real quick here. It's not producing a ton of dust. Hey Brian, give me just a minute here. It's going to be a Chevy that's next door. Can you look at the bedside too? It's going to be the tailgate for sure. Bottom right has a dent. You'll see it. You can't miss it. The bedside has been repainted, and it's got kind of a bigger dent from a shopping cart. I told him we'll see if we can get that done. It was repainted like probably 6 years ago now. So, yeah. And the more that you can keep these like adhesive runoffs big, the less it's going to kind of contaminate your working area. We're going to go through, we're doing this before we do our alcohol prep, so anything that kind of goes down there is good. We can just clean it off. But you see we kind of have this fine little bit here. If you're not able to move it, then just hit it with the wheel pretty light and it'll come off really easy, much easier. And so now we're just gonna use this same alcohol. And instead of like a dedicated adhesive remover, because usually you have to like use tar or some kind of adhesive remover. Well, if you get it really good with the wheel like that, you can just use straight alcohol. And so I'm not using too much pressure. I'm letting the alcohol do a little bit of the work, and my towel do a little bit of the work as well. And then once I see that there's really nothing left behind, got a little tiny bit right there. A little bit right there. A little bit right there. That's good. You can see the ghosting of that letter too. Kind of cool. But yeah, so now it's clear, ready to go. So we've taken that off, and we'll show later how we put it back on. But so the next step is to actually alcohol prep everything that's going to get PPF'd. So we'll alcohol prep the whole hood. I'll show you what that looks like, and I'll do a fender, and I'll do a part of the bumper, and I'll let you do the rest. Does that sound good? Cool. So let's get this out of the way again. I'm going to put this towel in the laundry because it's got some leftover residue on it. And we're just going to grab some straight glass towels. These glass towels have like no lint. That's why we use them a lot for PPF. They're super low GSM, so they don't do much for like absorbing stuff, but they're really good for PPF because they don't leave behind anything. Now we're in the mode of like contamination control, dust control. There's more steps of this after this, of course, but this is kind of the mode that we're in. We're trying to get everything really squeaky clean and nice. So I actually saturate this with quite a bit of alcohol, and I'll just go through, wipe off the surface real nice, kind of overlapping 50%. Come across these. I'm just focused on the hood. Just like when we're washing a car, we're only focused on one panel at a time. It's the same thing. If you start to kind of try to do, oh, let me do the full hood and then let me get a part of the fender as well, you're gonna run into some trouble because you're gonna miss some spots. So just missed a little triangle here. Good. All right, so we've already popped the hood, good. Come on, pull this up. All right, hit some more alcohol. It's too dry. Cool, so now we're worried about the edges. While I'm here, I'm also kind of inspecting the edges because I'm gonna be the one that's doing the job. I'm looking and I'm seeing, okay, how deep of an edge can we wrap? You know, this right here is typically quite a bit of tension. How does it look underneath there? Is it gonna be able to stick right there? Am I gonna have to like do a little relief cut? The template does have a relief cut right there, so I probably will have to do a relief cut. I'm just kind of like looking around a little bit, but I start right in the middle and I just work side to side. And I'm just rubbing the edge. Pretty decent amount of pressure. And I'm going up about a thumbs up, so about an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch up across there. And then once I'm done with the whole edge there, I'll come across the whole side. Kind of back and forth. Really nice. Line a couple times. And then I'll come across half this back edge. Looking at the edges too, back here. Just kind of seeing how everything feels. Cool, I've already done that half. Now I'll come across this side. Come across the other half of the back. That's good. Sweet. So this hood is alcohol prepped. So if I say, oh, did you alcohol prep that car? Oh, I've done the hood. That means that the hood is completely done. So next we're gonna kind of hit the fender. So Let's come across the whole face of it again. So we'll hit the whole thing here. Now this is kind of a weird spot to wrap on these Jeeps, so I am going to get kind of in there when I do my edges. Just kind of being mindful. And then there's also kind of that same thing, a little bit of a recessed part there that needs to get prepped. But I'm just focused on the face of it. I'm just looking at everything else. Cool. So now I'm actually going to grab one of these tuck tools, something like this, put my towel over it, and I'll be able to get into some of these little trickier places a little bit better. Just kind of get in there real nice. Same thing with this one here. That's good. And then I'll come across this top edge. That's good. Now this edge is usually 50-50, whether it's wrapped or not with the template. So I am going to kind of get in there as well. Just kind of pull this back a little bit. Sometimes these things clip in actually pretty easily, but I'm not going to test my luck with it. I don't know these Jeeps 100%. So I'm just going to grab the tucking tool, get behind this seal. Real nice. If it feels like there's a bunch of adhesive back there that's keeping this thing on, try not to tug on it too much. This one feels like it's more of a clip, but I can actually even just push it down just a bit. Get behind it. Now this back edge right here, we're just going to open up the door to get behind that edge. Now sometimes you have to finesse this a little bit, but you know, this one looks pretty wide open, but I'm going to get in there real nice on that back edge. This one's pretty dirty typically. And then, you know, sometimes you might have to like mess with the door a little bit to get it in the right angle to really get all of it. Not an issue on this one. But now I'm going to start, just because I'm down here, working on this this fender flare. So I've already kind of prepped in between those two panels. But I'm going to work on the whole face of it. Boom. Now we're getting into something that's pretty dirty. So once I use, like everything else is pretty clean. This is typically pretty dirty. So once I get inside of here, I want to make sure, see all that dirt? I really want to make sure I get that really clean, but also not use this side of the towel anymore. So whether you grab a new towel or you just flip it, I'll let you decide based off of how dirty you think it is. But you know, I wouldn't want to go and touch the hood with that side of it anymore. So I'm just going to flip this actually all the way over. That way I don't have any question on what side I've used and which side I haven't. While I'm here, we're doing this mirror. So let me just get this mirror. Real nice. This is just going to remove any soaps or anything that can kind of interfere with our installation process. It also kind of really deep cleans the dirt. I'm also going to get this headlight while I'm here. And funny enough, this is actually the order at which I do my install. So I do the hood, I do this fender, I do that mirror, I do this headlight. If I'm flying through, I might do it a little bit different because I might be explaining some stuff to you and want you to hit some highlights, but that's typically how I do it. I just hit the hood, fender, fender flare, mirror, headlight. I'll do the other side in the same order, front bumper last, and then those partial fenders. So I'll do half this hood, or sorry, half this bumper here. So get inside of here real nice, and I remember I had a lot of gel and maybe some adhesive here, so I am looking just to kind of make sure that it is clean. And I'm also looking above it, and we're not putting PPF on a lot of this. I've already talked to the customer. It is an upcharge, so we aren't going to do that. They decided to just do the rear fender flares instead, which is a good idea. Most of this is chrome anyways. But yeah, like typically those forward-facing kind of areas we do want, because it's flat. I mean, they're going to chip. But this is just a polished plastic. It's not painted plastic, like the bumper here. So I'll get up in here. gonna get the whole face of it for the most part. And you notice I already have like this towel is soaked in alcohol. So I haven't really had to apply more alcohol to this. I've had to do it, what, twice?
Yeah.
So once it's kind of soaked, you'll notice that I don't really have to worry about getting straight alcohol on there anymore. And then once it starts to feel a little dry, or I feel like there's not any more alcohol being left behind, then I will. So yeah, that looks great. And I'll just grab, oh, I got it right here. This little guy again. Kind of get inside of here real nice. You do have to worry about this a bit more when you do some polishing, because then you get all that polishing crud. If you haven't pressure washed the car off, like we just did, you'll get a lot of polishing crud kind of in there. So tricky parts when it comes to PPF bonding. On this kit, I've done a few of these. This right here sometimes has a hard time sticking, so I'm really gonna make sure I actually like kind of scuff it with my towel. Just run over it a few times. Here it's squeak, that's kind of a tough part. Same thing across this kind of like baby edge right here. I'm just gonna hit that maybe a little bit more than I did before. That's a tricky part. This right here is a tricky part. Now, this car doesn't have a coating or anything on there, but another way to prep would be to like hit that with like some polish on it. Hit that, hit this, if a car has been like coated or something like that, and you're kind of having those problem areas. This is kind of another, that one not so much, but when you kind of have these big like transition points, sometimes that can be kind of a pain. So this looks good for this side. I'm gonna let you knock out the fender on that side, and the fender flare and the mirror and that part of the bumper and headlight will be good. While you're doing that, I'm actually gonna just kind of wipe off some of these plastics in here because this towel is about to get disposed of. Well, put in the laundry, but I'll get all this kind of dirty stuff inside of here because when you have soaps and stuff running all over the place, this stuff does tend to run down into your working areas. So I'm just gonna get this kind of clean for the most part. Just wipe down. I'm not worried about the cracks or anything like that. Any little bit helps. Now we're gonna do some PPF. The first thing I wanna do is I wanna get all my templates together. So we'll get everything on here. For the sake of the video and for everything else, I've already prepared our templates a couple days ago for this car. So let's go over to saved boards. Jeep Grand Cherokee 2025 full front. So if you wanted to like not put this on the cupboard but open it, you can actually just like kind of like slide it over and you can be like, oh yeah, that looks about right. Boom, put it on here. Then let's click onto this. So these are all of our templates. The first thing you can see, this hood had that relief cut that I was telling you about. We're not using this hood. It's just not a thing. A second option that you could do if you wanted to like, say you forgot or for some reason you didn't remove the badge with a template, you could actually, on a lot of cars, like we have a Range Rover that's coming in next week, those letters, we wouldn't do that style. We would actually just print out just like this lower part of the hood and then install it like normal and then put the letters in this template, if that makes sense. Okay. So the way you could do that is like, typically you would want to go to the vehicle and just like grab the non-wrapped edge, which is, you know, preferred wrapped edge, you go down to that, and then you grab like a partial hood and see it's non-wrapped edge, and then you would just like zoom in on this, shift it over a little bit, and then you'd grab this like kind of cut thing here, and you come up to like right here, because that's a good alignment point, that's a good alignment point, and then you'd split that, and then like you would find some way to fit this in your template, and that would be your guide to getting that on there. If you feel like it's just too much space, you could get away with something like this. Boom, split it down. Boom, split it down. Another one right here, split that. You know, be a little bit more uniform, but you know, you can just grab that. And know that this is the bottom edge that goes across it, and then if we were to line it up in between the grill centers, then we can have a perfect guide. So there are some fail safes that are kind of built into our process. Worst case scenario, I just wanted to show you that real quick. But yeah, this is our template kit. So I'm just gonna delete this hood out of here because we're actually just gonna bulk the hood. But actually, so I actually take the hood and I just kind of hover over it and I click it, and I could see the length that's gonna be used is 64.64. So when I push out the film, I'm actually gonna push out, I want at least 66 inches so that I can have a little bit extra on the sides. And that's the measurement between here and here. So if I get 66 inches, I know that I can overlap the fenders a little bit so I can do my stretch properly.
Sure.
And so I have to push that out an extra 2 inches. So I actually get 68 inches measured from the rollers and then just run my blade across that like normal, set a new origin point, and we're good to go. So that's what I do to print out the hood. Just literally cut it off and just take a big piece out of it. But I do it with the plotter so I can be accurate. I don't want to have to just unroll it and make a sloppy cut or whatever. So let's delete the hood out of there. And I'll show you what I'm going to look at when it comes to this kind of stuff. You always want to put like your bumpers as low as possible, your kind of big pieces as much as possible down. Those are the biggest, longest pieces that kind of go right there. Then you're going to figure out what you can put on top of it, where you can put things. When you start to make these template kits, efficiency is big. Now there is an efficiency number down here, not something I ever look at because it just depends on how big the pieces are, where you can get them and things like that. But for the most part, for a full front, I always try to be between like 70 square feet to like 80 square feet, or most full fronts. Partial fronts are gonna be something like 40 to 50 square feet. So that just means, how much length we have based off of our 5 foot tall roll. Lots to go into that. I can just do a whole video on setting up templates, but we're gonna do the cutting today, of course. So there are a few things I wanna look at. So I got my fenders. I can see straight up, there is a wrapped edge on the top of that fender, which is great. Now I'm gonna look a little bit closer. I got another little baby wrapped edge. You see how it kind of has another notch? So there's like a double step down from that wrapped edge. So this is probably not wrapped in the nose, which is actually fine because it actually has a super aggressive angle that it goes down. And if that was wrapped, it'd be really hard to wrap. You'd have to have another relief cut and it would be just a baby edge, and it's probably not very nice on the back side of that and won't seal very good. So I'm looking at that. This upper part doesn't look wrapped. This is kind of that A-pillar area. This is where that, what did you call it?
Cowl corner.
Cowl corner?
Cowl.
Cowl corner. Yeah, right.
Corner. Yep.
Cowl corner, yep.
And I could take those off if you need.
Yeah, that's fine. We won't. So one thing I'm looking at too is I'm looking for little notches across the back edge of this up top and at the bottom. It doesn't really look like there is anything there. And then you see, so in that case, what I want to do is I would just grab this wrap tool and I do a wrap depth, 0.375 is good typically. So I'd come up to the corner and I'm just gonna make a wrapped edge on here. Up to there. And then I know, because I felt behind there, it's pretty easy to access. Sometimes you might have to grab this wrapped edge and bring it up a little bit if you know that you can't get your finger back there. So we've done this in order where we've prepped the car, we kind of felt behind some edges, we kind of keeping track of what we're gonna wrap, what we're not gonna wrap. But we can slide that up just a little bit, but I'm actually just gonna leave it down where it was because I know it's free and clear. So I'm gonna click wrap on that. I'm gonna do the same for this other fender while I'm already here. Just kind of click that. It's a little weird to zoom in and zoom out, but it's just kind of how it has to be done. So wrap, because if you go and grab another tool, then you lose your wrap edge tool. So it's kind of weird, but cool. So the next thing I'm looking at is I want to make sure, because sometimes they're not, this edge right here on the bottom of the front fender flares is wrapped. How I can tell it is wrapped is you see how this notches down just a little bit? Comes flat to down. That's because when you wrap it in, it needs to change angle just a little bit downward to wrap the whole bottom of that. So I know that that is wrapped. It's the same up front here too. So it's not like a progressive, like half wrap type thing. No, it's fully wrapped. The next thing I'm gonna look at is so I know this top edge is wrapped. If this isn't wrapped in the bottom here, that's not the end of the world. That's not a very important wrapped edge. Same thing with this one here, not a very important wrapped edge. Even inside of here, I bet this is wrapped just a little tiny bit, but if it's not fully wrapped, that edge is so small that it won't stick very well anyways. So not a problem there. The template designers typically know what they're doing. But you see, I did those back there because this is a 2022 template. That's when this template was made. You can tell based off of in here, you can come into this detail. So without badging, it's actually made in 2021 for a 2022 car. Back then, they didn't always have that standard of wrapping the back edge in the door. That is a like 2023 plus standard when it comes to core. I think they actually made the announcement in 2024 that they were doing that standard, but it was a kind of a big deal before that they didn't do it, so it's good that we checked. Cool, now the next thing, sensor holes are kind of a weird thing. You can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like you see these numbers right here. That's your tack pattern, what you're gonna attach first. So you would do this area first, then do that area second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. We're gonna lose that if we delete these sensor holes, but I always like to delete my sensor holes as long as they're not raised above the surface. So I'm gonna go walk over to the car. I'm gonna see what my sensors look like. Okay, so you see this sensor right here is actually recessed. It's not bulging. If you go next door and you look at that Chevy that's over there, Chevys, GMCs, their sensor holes in their metal bumpers are actually protruding out quite a bit. The reason why you don't delete that is because now you would have like this bulge underneath the film and it'd be impossible to get a nice clean cut to get this sensor hole really tight. These sensor holes, depending on the bumper, sometimes they could be a little bit off. And then especially because it's a straight up circle, whenever you shift the film where you might need it to be, you lose kind of track of where this hole needs to be. And then this is gonna isolate you to like an area that you might not wanna be at. So I like to delete these and then cut these out by hand when they're like this style, or they're flat. If they're protruding out, there is a limit. You know, if it's coming out just a tiny bit, I know, okay, I can get that real nice and tight and then trim it quickly. But if they're like this, you can almost always delete them, just so we can cut them out by hand. It just comes out way cleaner, way better. Cool, so the mirror is a 2-piece kit. So you can see there is a seam across there. So there's this kind of bottom part and a top part. So those 2 pieces come together. I'll show you how to use seams, of course. One thing, if this was 1 piece and it was black, like this car is, I would be looking at printing black PPF. Because you have to stretch it so much and you have to like stretch it on the panel, that sometimes you get some adhesive disturbances that are pretty well seen. So there are times that we use black PPF. You can even see we have black PPF printed out right there for those mirrors that we did on that. What car did we do this week?
It was the. I know what you're talking. I heard you talking.
Yeah, it was the new 4Runner. Yeah, so it had black mirrors.
Yeah.
We were having a problem with some pre-tack marks and some other things, so we just used straight black PPF. It didn't have any metallic flake in it, so it looks just fine. It actually looks way better. So that's kind of what I'm looking at with all these things. This is pretty sweet. I think it's ready to print. So the next thing is I'm going to look at the length. I've got 118 inches right here, 118.411, okay? That's important for me to know. I also have my width. It's not anything above 59. If it was above 59, I might have to worry a little bit and have to look at that second number that I was telling you about on the X or Y axis. So we're gonna grab the roll. There's a couple things when you're handling these rolls. So you can see it's telescoped just a little bit, but you can see there's also a huge difference between where the film is and here. So this is technically the best place to be. When we're handling this roll, we want to try to keep this bottom side as uniform as possible, just so we can roll out really far. When you first kind of handle this, if you start to see a big difference between those 2 parts and you're kind of have a lot more film on here. We're kind of down to the last little bit. What you could do is you can actually grab this off of here, tape off of here, kind of keep some tension on it, but you can like release it a little bit and then bounce it up and down. And as long as you keep it flat, you're not going to damage the film. But if you keep it sideways like this and then bounce it up and down, you will damage the end of the film. And what this will do is it'll keep that roll tight, pointed down. So now I'm going to just kind of pull some tension back on here, just like this, and keep everything down, and then put the tape back on here. I actually drew on this piece of tape how many inches we have left on this roll. It's 219 inches here. So that's enough to do this car, the full hood, the full, all the stuff that we need to do. But that's something when I get towards the end of the roll, I do kind of want to know how much I have left. So you'll see the kind of writing on some pieces of tape here every once in a while. Now this is a non-cap sheeted roll. So it's a little bit easier to handle. I'll have another video, I'm sure, one of these days about cap sheets, which we just don't use any cap sheets on any of our films anymore, so it's really not an issue. But to print on a cap sheet used to be like a freaking nightmare. Okay, so I've got the roll in here. I've got my flat side down over this way, of course.
Opposite of the tent.
Right, and now everything's facing that way, which is good, because this is the side that the film is on. So I'm gonna unroll this, boom. I'm gonna get this, so now this is important. This wasn't with tint. The isolating factor for this roll of PPF is over here, of course, but I can already tell you, PPF on a 60-inch roll comes up to here. This is my main alignment point. With window tint, we don't have to worry about it too much, but with PPF, since we're rolling out such long distances and the machine is moving a lot, we wanna make sure that we line it up right here. So that is like my first alignment. I pull this through.
That's where the edge goes.
That's where the edge of the film goes. You'll see just a second. So I'll pull this through just a bit, okay? And then I'll put some forward tension on it. And I'll just slide this to where it goes just on that edge right there. And that's actually an edge that we watch quite a bit. So slide this through. And now I'm setting up my other grit rollers. And I'm just gonna set them up pretty evenly. We're gonna use 4 rollers.
Every time?
Yep, for PPF. Always. Because we're rolling out such a long distance, we need more rollers to have more stability in the cuts. So, because that machine is, you'll see, it's kind of crazy actually, like how much it moves. So now I've got this kind of set up right, cool. I'm gonna take out this here, put our PPF blade in here. Good to go. Since I've touched this now, I want to make sure I slide this all the way over. I'm looking at this distance between these two as well. I'm going to slide this over maybe just a little tiny bit, but I don't want to have it too close to the edge on there as well. I'm on the middle of this roller, middle of that roller, middle of that roller, and I got this one set up about where I want it, but I can slide this over even just a little tiny bit more.
Okay.
Because the more I slide this, like this is, it might be 58 inches that it measures. This is probably closer to 59, and then this is probably 59 and a half. Right? So that's kind of my main adjustment if I need to make any adjustments right there. So I'm gonna slide this down. I'm putting forward pressure on it. And what this is doing, what you have to think about is I have my roll, it's on there. It's not telescoped, okay? I haven't shifted the roll any unnecessarily. If I'm shifting it side to side, I've grabbed it by the film, not by the center of the roll. Because if I telescope it even a little bit, it doesn't matter if I pull it out here a little bit, it's gonna wanna shift, right? So I've kept that isolated. That telescoping, the end of the roll, all that stuff isolated. I've got my roller set up, and then I've got this kind of tugged right in the middle. Not on this side, not on that side, right in the middle. Just a little bit of forward pressure. Now this is telling me that it's transferring exactly how I have the tube set up on the film is exactly how it is right here. It's not shifted even just a little bit like this or a little bit like this. Because 1 millimeter off, like a little millimeter up this way, or a millimeter down that way, will turn into like 7 inches at the end of a 300-inch run, right? Because you're not plotting 60 inches like max, like you would with window tint. You're plotting like hundreds of inches. So it is important to kind of keep that good. And I'm looking at the end of the here, because the reason why I look at the end of there is because when this thing is moving front to back, I'm making sure that this stays about right there within a couple of millimeters towards the end of the roll. I know that we're towards the end of the roll, so I know I am gonna have a little bit more of that shifting side to side, so I'll show you what that looks like. So I got this pulled forward just a little tiny bit. I'm gonna throw this down. Now, before this touches here, I wanna make sure that I do have this all the way back, my basket all the way back, on the back and on the front. So I'm gonna slide the tube and I'm just gonna get that flushed. Same thing with right here. Just gonna get that flushed. And then I'm gonna look at this tube right here. Now this is something that took me a little bit to learn, but if you put these empty tubes in here, you can get the tension of the film to lay down a little bit more evenly as it starts to kind of come through. When you don't have this on here, you have a higher likelihood of the film snagging kind of a part of the cloth, and then it shifts just a little bit, and then it wants to crease in the middle of the film. So if you do it how I'm gonna show you right now, every time, you're not gonna have that problem, but there are some problems that you could run into with PPF, and a lot of people do commonly run into it very often because they don't know this. So, cool, now I can kick this thing on. And then it's gonna do the same thing as it did before. It's gonna pick up, it's gonna say 1 or 2. I'm gonna do 1, good to go. And then it's gonna do the same thing that it did with the window tint. It's gonna measure that, it's gonna measure this one, measure that one, measure that one, go all the way back, and then go find the end of the roll, and then this is gonna come up, it's gonna go right up to that sensor hole right there. Boom. And then it'll go forward just a little tiny bit. Oh, I actually go back a little bit. This is gonna come into, now it's cut position. See, I'm in condition number 3, I'm gonna go to condition number 1, okay? Now, what I can do is I'm actually gonna make sure you do this every single time regardless. You have to pre-roll out how much you're gonna cut, plus some, so you can do what I'm about to show you, okay? So I'm gonna come over here, I'm gonna look at this number, I got 118 inches. I actually wanna push probably another foot on top of that. So I'm gonna be at 130 inches, I wanna push through just to make sure that it's verified, okay? So I got this, oh, so I'm looking at this tube too, I'm making sure that this tube, if you look at that leg, the end of the leg, the black over there, and the end of this leg, you can see it's actually even shifted just a tiny bit. So if I kick this tube just a little bit and let it settle back down, I can get it a little bit closer to this end right here. That way that tube is nice and flat. And yeah, that's pretty spot on. The back one isn't as important, and you'll see why here in just a second, but I'm looking at it versus kind of this one, just making sure like, oh, okay, it's pretty flat. And it is. That one definitely need to be shifted a little bit. And you get what I'm saying by that?
What?
This tube inside of here, making sure that it's not like this way.
I can see where you're lining it.
Right, so I lined it up across the black across there, so it's definitely good. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna click the down arrow, push it through. So you see how it's kind of, one side note, see how it's kind of jagged across here? That's not a big problem because it's actually not even gonna print all the way to the edge, it's gonna come up just a little bit. But say you had like a whole inch in, you'd wanna cut that fully off before you start to proceed with this step. So, and then click origin back in there or restart the machine. But so I got this, now I've got, 3 inches, 10 inches, 20, 30. Okay, now you can see it's starting to now pull past what we pulled through. I can feel it, kind of that resistance on that machine. And now what I'm gonna do is kind of waft this just a little bit, and I wanna make sure it doesn't curl up onto itself. I want it to go, this edge, to go into here, so then it can flop over, okay? So, and this is more important, the more film that you have. So I wanna make sure that this gets right where you see how now it's kind of leaned itself back a little bit. So now it's in there, you see? And now I'm just gonna go slow. I'm gonna get it past that point until it wants to just naturally go the other way. And then I'm gonna go a little faster. And so now I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at this number. Got 80, boom, I'm looking back here. I still got plenty of film on the roll, 118. And so that's about what we needed to cut, but now we wanna go up to what, 130, I think we said? Let's see, just open this back up. Yeah, let's go to 130, another foot on top of it. So now this is the cut, everything that's forward here. Now I'm getting excess. I'm gonna go to 130, just go to 132, okay? Maybe even a little further. That feels right. Okay, so now I'm actually gonna go back. And if you look at the back side of this roll, you can come up around this side. This is kind of important to see. Now I'm gonna go back a little bit, but I'm gonna pull this back over. And I want this to actually have some weight to it. So back over the roll the other way, but have weight to it so that it can keep everything on this side of the basket. Because if you don't, it'll come back down this side of the basket, and that's a big problem because then it'll touch itself and produce static. So you see, I just got it to where it has some weight, and look, I'm right at 117 inches. So I kind of go more off of feeling rather than measurement. But yeah, I'm at 116 inches right there, and I've got the weight that I want. Since this is towards the end of the roll, what'll happen a lot is since this roll doesn't have a lot of weight to it anymore, the film will, the film backing will grab the film and push this roll back this way as it goes. And that's not what I want. I want this roll to stay exactly where it is, like just like that. So what I can do is I can actually lock this roll in place. And then now everything is just gonna go cruise over that, cruise back the other way. Sound good? So are you following me so far? Kind of, yeah.
It's
I know there's a lot. It's kind of fast too, so I don't blame you. But basically, you see this? Is that pretty much exactly where we had it?
Yep.
Now, if you showed this to somebody that just started using a plotter and they're running into problems, they're gonna be like, how the heck did you do that? Because they always roll out and then the end of the film ends up over here or the end of the film ends up over there if they roll out 180 inches. Well, if you follow every single step that I just showed you, you're gonna be able to roll out 400 inches and not have any walk in the plotter. As long as your pressures are good, everything is good, it's cool. So I've got 116 inches here. I'm just gonna roll it out to 117, just to be on the safe side. And I'm gonna go walk over here and just verify everything. Oh, actually the length is used is 118. So I'm gonna scroll this back just a little tiny bit more. So I got 118.411. I'm gonna make sure that this number is at least that, so I can go above it. It's not a problem.
So that 130 you pulled out
is just so I can have the weight on the back side of this and keep the roll on the right side. And you see when we were pushing it out real fast, it was just kind of going back and forth, and it wasn't creasing or anything. It was just kind of going back and forth. That is what the tube helps out a lot. So no issues there. We're good to go. So now I'm actually gonna delete out, before I forget, these sensor holes. Delete that one, zoom out, zoom back in, delete that sensor hole, delete that. So we just lost our numbers for our tack because it factors in where that sensor hole is as a tack point, but we're good. So just re-looking over everything, making sure I got wrapped edges where I want it, things where they need to be. I think we're pretty solid. Cool. So now 118, looking back at here, just verifying again, 118.9. The number is bigger than that number. This is set up correctly. I'm good to go. I've got condition number 1. Those are my main points. So now I can just go ahead and go and click print. And this is just gonna do its thing. And what I'm gonna watch for is I'm gonna watch for it creasing back here, or sorry, in the front, and it creasing back here. There are things that we can do, kind of, to assist it if it starts to run into some problems. But I'm just kind of being mindful, I'm just watching it work. It's gonna start with whatever is the furthest over this way. So it's probably that little partial rear fender here. And then it'll cut this, and then it'll cut that, and then it'll cut this, and then it'll cut like this whole bumper all the way back and forth. So whatever, it'll just kind of go all the way over here. So the last piece that it's gonna cut is actually just this partial rear fender on this side. So it has a ways to go.
And if you had some catastrophic started to happen, you could just hit stop.
Yep.
And assess it from there.
Right, click stop, see if you can proceed or if you have to reposition it. You don't want to have to get to that point if you have to reposition it because then you have to start deleting things off of here, figuring out what you have cut, what you haven't cut. It kind of is a mess, so just, you know, keep things good.
What happens if it starts catching when it starts going back down again? You kind of want to just...
So I just watch it. So I'll show you. It should, because now it has some memory, you can see that the film is actually like set in that way. Like it was kind of like a little squiggly. That's good. But yeah, you can see it's still kind of doing its thing. And you know, what's important is that we have the speeds set up correctly, because each manufacturer has its own backing and its own thickness and its own top coat and pressures that are needed, but also that speed, because you don't want to be fighting what the film wants to do naturally. You don't want to force it to do anything. So this is all set up and calibrated really, really well. So yeah, it's doing the same thing back here. It's looking great. It probably just finished cutting that whole bumper, and now it's cutting this piece right here. I can see it's pretty down here. So this is the bottom of the roll. The front of that is over here. And the back of where it's been cutting is over here. So you can kind of see where it is. I mean, it took me like 3 years to really understand how this stuff even worked, and like what it was cutting and where it was cutting. But I know that it's about right here right now. The next thing it'll cut is probably these mirrors right here, because that's kind of in line. Might even cut just this little piece, then the mirror, then it'll go back to that piece. So just kind of watching it. Yeah, I just cut these little pieces right there. You can see because it just kind of went forward a little bit, went back a little bit, and then it went side to side a little bit, and just kind of cut those little squares twice. And yep, now it's cutting that mirror. So again, you don't have to keep track of this, but it is kind of fun, just kind of guess where it is, right, or what it's going to do next.
I kind of do understand why you pulled so much. It kind of makes sense after just watching you go. Mm-hmm. Definitely a lot to take care of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'll have to watch this video a few times. But I promise you, if you follow the video exactly how I just did it, you're going to be able to plot 400 inches, 500, a whole roll if you wanted to. Let me guess what it's cutting out now. I wasn't really paying attention. It's cutting the partial fender right now. Sorry, the fender flare. It's going to go back. It's going to come back up just a bit. Oh, no, that's cutting the full fender. So it's cutting this whole fender right here.
Okay.
So yeah, that came before this partial fender. But yeah, you are correct. So you asked a question like, oh, what happens if it hits the, tweaks out the bottom? Just subconsciously, I just recognize that I'm always kind of watching that. When it goes all the way up and comes back down, I always watch that. Like it's almost like subconscious for me. Half of this training is just me trying to figure out the words that I want to say and kind of get out what's natural for me down into your brain. So like right here, this is something that I am watching pretty much like a hawk. Is it going down back into here? Because if it is going to crease, it happens there. So while it's cutting, it's not doing it super fast, but for some reason, the reposition speed is actually way faster than the cutting speed. So once it gets towards this last piece, which is almost at it, it's about to cut the last piece. This is the last piece now. So now I'm getting close to the machine because it's going to go down a lot faster than it has been once it cuts this. And now it's going to go all the way back here, but you see it's going way faster. And so I didn't have to do anything, which is good. And now it's just going to do its thing, but I also want to make sure, since it's going way faster, I'm looking back here, making sure it's not snagging anything, because sometimes the film will stick to itself and try to come through, and it's just a freaking nightmare. But yeah, that was the last piece. Now it's back at its start position. So if we look, you can even bet on it. 118.411. I'm gonna click this, 18.4. 118.4. So it's exactly at the end of this cut. So what I wanna do is, because I'm gonna just be cutting in here, I'm not gonna use the crosscut feature. I actually wanna go 2 inches above that. So instead of that, I'm gonna do 120.5. Just a little bit past it, 120.5. Then I know that I don't have any templates above here, above this point. And so next I'm just gonna grab this, and I actually want to see the last piece on this template, which is that partial fender flare for the back door. Oh, no, the other side. Yep. So that is the side that is right here visible. I can see that little partial fender for the rear, and I'm just going to want to make sure that I see that and that it's past this line, this black line. Right here. So that is actually the bottom of that other one. You see the piece that's right above it is actually even further back, just by a bit, but it's further back. And so I'm looking for that piece. And that piece actually ends right here. So I actually bought myself another ½ inch or so. So I know I'm in the clear. I'd rather be safe than sorry, especially when it only comes to a ½ inch, rather than cutting out another piece that's gonna waste 6 inches. So I've cut this, I've got a good hold of it. I'm gonna bring this down, and I'm just gonna flap it over the top here, fold it onto itself like this, get back in front of it, and now I can kind of grab this up. Again, you're probably gonna have to watch this video like 3 times because a lot of people don't get this on the first try. But now I can kind of roll it into itself like this and then just go ahead. Now, you don't want this to be too tight, but you also don't want it to be too loose because when you're rolling out a lot, this can get pretty big and your hand's gonna end up being like this. This isn't a huge template, so I'm not really too worried about it. But we're good to go. So, boom. And so now, while this sits, because we're gonna have to cut out our hood, while this sits, we're actually just gonna push this forward just a bit to where we get that weight that I have back here. I want that to be non-existent anymore. Just right here. There, now my weight's gone. I'm gonna release this, and then I'm gonna release the rollers, because if I let this sit on that, it's gonna bring little tiny squares and put them in the film, and then it'll be like some big piece that we cut, or it's the hood or something, and those little squares, they don't go away after a while. When they're rolling, it's not a problem, but when they're sitting there for longer than a few minutes, you're gonna have some issues. So we just release, now everything can just kind of sit here. The only thing is that this roll sitting on here is gonna put some lines in there, but if you have about 5 hours before it really becomes a big problem. Okay. 4 or 5 hours, so.
Get that on a table and then take that off.
Right, so this for now, we'll set up the tables here, but ideally, I don't like to put this back down into the roller thing here, but if you need to like set this down, I wouldn't put it on a table, because the table has little dimples in it, and it's gonna put indentations inside of here, because this weighs, this probably weighs like 10 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's actually kind of heavy.
Than I thought.
Right, so, if you have all this weight settled on a very small, narrow part of this film, and it has dimples in it like those tables do, you just set it on a table, you're gonna transfer that into here. So I actually know that this cloth, if I roll it and put it on this cloth just a little bit, and then just have the tube kind of sitting there, I don't have much weight. It's transferred over a wider area of the roll, so it's not gonna put anything in there. So if I do need to let it sit, which we are, because I have to go to my appointment soon, we're just gonna let that chill. Okay. Cool. And so the next thing that we would do is we have our measurement now, so we got 118 inches. That is, a table length is 70 inches or so. I think it's 72. 30 inches wide. So you would need 2 tables to get like 70 inches. Oh. Just 2 tables to get 70 inches by 5 feet, which is the roll size, which is 30 inches, 70 inches this way. So then you can put like a hood there. That's about how big a hood is. That's how big our hood is gonna be. So we just have 2 tables set up. Okay. This one is gonna take 118 inches. So that's actually gonna be 4 tables. So 2 tables, just get those in line, clean them off with some alcohol and water, and then you're good to go. Okay. Then we can like roll this on there. With these tables, we always store them kind of like side to side like this. That way the faces of them don't get too dirty, because you're gonna have to wipe them off anyways, just make your job a little bit easier. So what I do is I actually grab it by the handle here, kind of open it up, just like this, pull this through, pull that through, and then just like that. So we'll have 1 table. This one's gonna take 4 tables. So we're gonna have 1 right here, You can put that one right in front there. You'll get used to opening those things up. When you're jamming, you just open it all the way before you put the legs out. Sometimes it won't even like lock. Very good. And so we'll just take some alcohol and water.
Right.
Soak this down. It doesn't need to be drenched, but a nice mist over everything. And then I'll show you how we wipe them. You're gonna take a towel and just focus on one square at a time. Just side to side, and then come around the outside. Because sometimes your hose and different things will touch the edges of the film, or the edge of the table. And you don't want to bring that dirt back up into it. So we're just gonna go each square. Sweet, pretty clean. Just throw these towels in the laundry. And then let's grab our film. So, I always like to have the templates laid out how it's on the computer, like kind of facing this way. So this is gonna be like the bottom left of the templates, top right, bottom right, vice versa, all that stuff. Because I'm gonna be, you know, kind of moving from the car back to here, back. So I like them to be kind of facing the same way as if I was looking at them on the computer. So we unroll this. And it's not quite going to be the full 4 tables because it's only 118 inches, whereas this is like another 140 inches. So we're good. We have a little bit of wiggle room. So yeah, here's all of our templates. Go ahead and put it on. Yeah. No, we're gonna weed them out. It's kind of our next step. So let's get some chairs going. Where are our chairs?
There's a pot right here. The one goes there by that point.
Okay. All right.
I'll get you up to some.
Okay.
Let's go.
So the only thing that you need to do all your weeding is going to be a blade and a picture. So I'm going to grab this blade. It doesn't need to be super sharp. It could be just an old blade. And then we're going to come over here and we'll take a picture of our templates. So you're going to take the same picture. So come up. You just take a picture of this. Make sure you get all the pieces in the frame. Weeding is fun. It's something that you can learn pretty quickly, but also, remember when I was telling you, like, if you know how to prep windows for tint, like, you're helping out a lot? Yeah. If you know how to print and weed, you're helping out a lot. So even just that within your first couple of weeks or a week or so, you're doing really good. All right, so
it's okay to touch this.
Yeah, we can touch this. You don't want to let things sit on here in one place for too long because it'll put an imprint in the film. But this phone moves with me throughout the whole process, so it's good to go.
And it's hard to see.
It is, and you have to shift your eyes a bit. But one thing I did want to say is we left to go on lunch we waited to weed this out. Sometimes the film can bond itself back together between the cuts, So this isn't something that I would want to let sit for longer than half a day without weeding it out, because then you're going to have a really hard time. You're going to start tearing into the film. So like I said, this is there's cut speed, there's pressure, there's all that kind of stuff. So I'll show you what to worry about, what you don't have to worry about, and the kind of pace that you can move at. Like I'm pretty much going to go full speed, but I'm also going to be kind of talking along the way. So I like to start at the bottom edge. You notice I'm kind of like right in this kind of general area. I like to start here, kind of go back a little bit here, just kind of get an idea of where things are at. And then I'll work up this edge and start working in. The stuff in the middle, so this comes to like template, like when you're playing Tetris on the computer, trying to get all your templates together. Try to put all your complex things around the outer edges. Because you don't want to be sitting there with this blade, you know, figuring stuff out, hunched over in the middle of the film, right? So I like to put a lot of my complex stuff a little bit more towards the outer edges. Sometimes you just can't get away from it because it's like, man, I'll have to waste another 5 square feet in order to put this piece where I actually want it to. But, you know, yeah. So let's just go after it. So I'm going to be looking at this kind of like bottom edge here. Let me just kind of come here. I'm going to cut into the film a little bit so I can get a good start on here and tear into the piece. Can you see the piece right there? Look for the piece. You're going to see it with a reflective light.
I can see this.
Yep.
This guy.
Yep.
Kinda.
So look at your image, and where is that?
Yeah, it comes down.
And kind of comes up, and it comes into this kind of like triangle piece, right?
Yeah,
this triangle.
Dips down here.
Yep, dips down a little bit, and it comes into that thing right there.
Okay.
So I know I'm clear until I start to hit something that goes up. Okay. So what I'll do is come up. Oh, I just hit something that goes up. Okay, so now I need to get this whole little triangle out of here, okay? So since it's something that comes back onto itself, I can actually just put a small incision right here and then tear into the next piece, come up, and just tear out that little triangle. And then I'll be able to just come down across here, finish off the piece. Cool. And then I got my little partial fender flare right there, right? You see it. So where is that? That's right here, about right there. So I know that I'm pretty close. I can just kind of come up in here. I can see that I'm at this curve right here right now. I can come up into there, tear into that piece, come back down. And I know that there's no weird stuff going on until I hit that next fender flare. So now I'll come up into this fender flare right here, cut into it, come out this way, and now I've got my fender flare kind of on both sides of that. Is it making sense?
Okay, yeah.
So I'm leaving the pieces behind.
I was super lost until you started pulling it, and then I saw the outline.
Okay. Yep. So yeah, I'm just kind of taking it piece by piece, and I have to make sure that I see what's going on and then tear into it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So right here, I've got what? A little bit of a seam right there. So I'm going to go up until I see that seam, which is right there. Now I'm going to come across that seam just a little bit. Just going to come back down into it. You see it? I took that seam out. Come back up. What's above that? It's like the bottom part of the bumper right there.
Okay.
And then I got this little thing, but I don't have to worry about that little thing until I come into this hump, right? So I'm going to come up into here, and I got the bumper really close. So I'm going to make sure I see where the bumper is. I see the bumper line. I'm going to bring my blade right into that, below that bumper line, and then split it. Boom. Okay. Boom. Right? And then come across it. And then you can see, I'm actually got like part of the bumper cut out right there. You see that kind of like empty space? So I know that I can just kind of come in this with the general, like, because there's no seams or anything in there, I can just like go in a circle and I can get that whole thing out of there. Wow. Yep. And then come back down there. And then I don't have to worry about anything until I get the end of this fender flare. Well, I already have most of that out. So I can actually just come up across here. Okay. Good to go. To the side of the bumper. And now I got the the reflector part right here. Boom. You see? Yeah. You're just kind of like following kind of a maze here, kind of seeing what's going on, right? So now I'm going to kind of focus a little bit more over here now. So I've got my partial fender flare, and then I'm going to be coming into a full fender flare. So where is that end of the full fender flare right there? I'm going to find it. It's right here. So if I just kind of tear into it right there, like that, I always keep it this way, just because that's kind of where I'm at. you know,
That's the way it's laid out.
right? That's the way that it's laid out. So I always kind of have my phone, even if I'm up there, it is facing the same way. Because when you start rotating stuff, you're like, where the heck am I?
Yeah,
So, yeah. See, you're doing things that are natural. This is what people naturally want to do, and I'm here to make sure that we stay on track. Okay, good to go. All right, now I've also got my full fender right above it, right? And then there's like a line in between. So I know that if I come up into this side of this fender right here, and then come up across this fender flare right here, boom, get in here, and I got free and clear until I hit that like mirror part. So I can actually just tear this through, and I'm just gonna let it dangle up there. I'm not gonna move my whole body over there yet, because I got a lot more work to do kind of right in here. So I'm gonna come across here, and then the next thing I'm gonna hit is kind of that curvature at the top of the film for the end of the fender.
Nice.
Boom. So now I've got my fender here, I got that thing clear. What's this? This is the bumper. Okay, I've already got the outside of this done, so now I can just come up across this part of the bumper, and it's clear until the end of that fender, right? So that's all empty space.
Because right there is right here.
Yep,
Right there.
yep. So now I can just come up across all this and not have to worry about it.
Nice.
See? So now this is all clear, literally. There's nothing here that we have to do. So now I'm gonna get up back over the film on this side. Taking my phone with me, and I'm rotating just as it is. This is just my eyes in the dark, right? Come up across this fender here. Cool, I got a little bit of a mirror right there. I'm gonna come down in that mirror. Boom. It's a two-piece mirror kit, so I'm gonna see where everything kind of is. Okay, I got that kind of bottom part of the fender and into that other piece. Right there. So let me just go into there, go into that, tear this, boom, come into that mirror just a bit. And then this is really, really tight. So I'm just gonna come into this a little bit different. Boom. All right, so next I have kind of like this other full fender that's kind of chilling right about in this area, but I've got two mirrors kind of in the middle of that. So I'm just gonna address those two mirrors real quick. Come across this until I get down to the bottom of that V, and then I'll be able to trim this, get into this part of the mirror, come across both of those bottoms, and then I've got the top of my other mirror right here. Good to go. Come up across the top of this V, and then the fender kind of starts about right here, so I'm just gonna come into here. I'm gonna clear out everything in front of this fender. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, there we go. Now this is all pretty much clear, or is clear. Got this. Now if I don't wanna look down there and try to figure out what the heck is going on, I'm just gonna cut this off, because now it's just kind of coming into my stuff. I'm kind of focused on this area. I'll kind of work my way in towards the middle here in just a minute. Cool. Across that. Got the other part. Just want to make sure. Yep, it's just the mirror. Boom. Boom. All right. And then I got a headlight and a fender flare down here. So if I come tear that into that fender flare, find the headlight edge, which is kind of a little bit underneath there. I can come into the next pieces that are kind of down here. The headlight comes across the bottom of this mirror too, and kind of curves around. Okay, got this, then I got the top of this fender flare, and then I've got that headlight, and then there's another headlight right underneath it. Let me get that. Boom. Cross that. Got nothing weird in there. Just go around this whole headlight. Okay, fender flare, top of the bumper. So I know that since this is the top of the bumper, coming down to the bottom of this fender flare, I can bring this in. Boom. Whole bumper now.
Nice.
This is a fender flare, so that's where another one meets up. Right here, just come down to this fender flare, bring these two across. Now I have that whole fender flare and it's clear all the way to the other side of that bumper, right? So now I can just, boom, just the other side of that bumper.
If you run into where it like starts snagging, is that like immediately you're kind of screwed, or like it provides enough resistance where you could be like, okay, hold on for a sec?
Yeah, so you see most of the time I'm going really slow where there's seams. But where there's like clear, nice, like rounded things or nice flat things, most of the time you're good. I don't typically I try to avoid, you notice if I come up into this edge here, how I'm tearing is I come up this way and I tear away. No. I try not to tear into the film. So like if I come up into here and see I like tear into the film this way, like that, even it just being at this angle is super sketch. Like that kind of freaks me out right now. I always want to come up and just come straight through the side and then tear it like this way, right? So if you do it the other way, then you have a higher likelihood of snagging and going into the piece rather than snagging and coming out of the piece. Because you can come out of the piece and it's fine. You can just restart it. But kind of keep that in mind as you're going through here, like you're tearing it away from the piece rather than tearing it into the piece. So I've got another like partial, so a full fender flare, and that's clear all the way to the bottom of that fender. So I actually want to see what that outline is. So I'm just going to go and clear out that whole fender just until there, until it starts kind of becoming a mess. And then I'm pretty much clear up to the top of this fender here and on through the side. So, and since we have a template that is not as big as the tables, we can actually even just slide this over a bit. Don't be afraid to do that, just so you can access things a little bit easier. Your back is kind of a priority. It's already gonna be on its breaking point edge after a few years, so everything you can do to save it. We wanna make sure that you keep on keeping on. All right. So I've got the bumper here. I'm just kind of looking, I'm reassessing all this stuff. The next thing that I don't have cut out or like even started and have a possibility of snagging up is gonna be that partial fender that's right here. So I'll just cut into that, bring this up, and then I'm pretty much clear all the way to the bottom of that other fender flare. So I can come into this and feel good about it. See, there's kind of a lot going on here right now. You can pick this up, like don't feel afraid to like pick this up and like maybe cut it off here, cut it off there, cut it off there. If you want to get it out of the way, I like to struggle a little bit because it helps me kind of get a little faster, and every second counts. So I know that I can just pull through this. This is going to come down here. I'm able to expose this. Boom. There. And then I'm good until I hit the bottom of that bumper. So I'll be able to go across there. And then I'm good until I get to the bottom of that. And so now I can just tear away that one right there. So you don't have to put yourself through that. It's kind of a lot thinking. I've been doing this for long enough to where I know that bunch ain't really much. When you've got a Corvette that the front kit is like 50 pieces, 60, 75 pieces sometimes, yeah, it helps to kind of clear away some of the clutter. But these are nice big pieces. Like there's not much little stuff kind of chilling in all this. So the likelihood of me really picking something up is pretty low. But I'm still being vigilant, as you can see. I'm not, flying through it without a procedure or process. Okay. Now I've got this kind of like other fender flare, or other part of the fender flare for here. Now I can bring these two fender flares together. I do have a seam kind of at the end here. I can't even see it yet. but I know it's there. Oh yeah, there it is. Just gonna come across that seam real nice, make sure it clears out good. And then I'm pretty much clear to the bottom of the bumper here. And then again, we can kind of run that circle across this one. Get that part of it out. And there's a little bit of a weird seam in here. The one thing is you just don't want the film to touch itself when you're kind of coming across some of that stuff, because if it touches itself, it'll leave behind some adhesive, and you're not getting that adhesive off of the adhesive. It's just not going to happen. I've tried to save many pieces. I've been successful in probably a quarter of them, and so it's just best to really not let things touch the adhesive that you're going to be installing. So I've actually got this pretty cleared out all the way up into here. So let me just go in and grab. Now I'm kind of coming together. So once I have my ring together on the whole outside, I can kind of start working on some of the stuff in the middle. This is good. And again, I got that weird little like triangle across here, so I can just come up into that. Boom. Boom. Okay, so now that whole upper part's clear. This is pretty much clear. Yeah, there's nothing in here. We've got kind of the middle of those two pieces. There is some smaller stuff. So like there's that piece in there. So I'm just gonna come up and find those pieces. Make sure I can see them. So yeah, I see, there's my little guy right there. Bigger one, and then the little one's gonna be over there. So those are just the two things I have to watch out for. And then there is a seam kind of right in there that I'm definitely gonna be vigilant of, and that is on the left side of that really small piece. So bumper, small piece. Let me just get up to that small piece real quick. I'm just gonna come up underneath it. Come up above it is clear. And underneath it is clear. You see, I'm looking back quite a bit more because now it's like, this is, if something was to happen, it would happen kind of in this spot. Okay, I'm gonna find that seam now and I wanna see what it looks like. Okay, so let me come up into that other bigger piece and then below, and then I'll be able to kind of come into that seam. And now I'm in the seam, bringing that up. Cool, so now we just got a couple of dips until we get to the next seam. So a couple of dips. Just keep staying vigilant on those. And then I got the next seam right in here. Boom. And my little guy over here. That's good. And then let me just verify I don't have anything other than the little guy there, so it's true. Let me just, there he is. Boom. All right, and so now I just have this part of the bumper to clear out, and then this bigger piece. And let me just make sure there's nothing above that bigger piece. Looks clear. So now I can just kind of come across both of those. Got my little piece. Again, verifying there's nothing else. And we're good.
Okay.
There we go. Now everything is exposed. And so now, you know, oh yeah, thank you. All right, you can just kind of pan through all this. Oh, actually, let's make sure we get out those squares.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just the ring around the squares. So I'll show you how to come into a piece like that. Because rather, they're right here. So you got one right here, and you got one right there.
Yep. Okay.
So rather than like taking a blade and trimming into there, I'm actually gonna come in this to a little bit different. You see how you're just trying to take this little part out of it. So if I just,
I'm gonna look at this one.
yeah, go ahead. You're just trying to take that ring out. You're not trying to take the inside out or the outside. You're just trying to take the ring out because it's just two pieces. So if I come up and I just grab my fingernail right onto the edge and come down on it, and then same thing with the other side, come up on it, then I can snag it and try to get a good kind of grip of it all, and then just bring that all the way around. Super slow, because sometimes these cuts, they're like the window tint cuts where they start in one place and end in another. Okay. So you're just gonna have to keep a constant pressure on there, especially like circles and rings. That's kind of where they tear at on PPF. So yeah, you might have to dig your finger in there a little harder, and you wanna make sure you're in the, let me just double check. Yeah, you're in that, but it might be a little bit easier down here because as you see, it's a little bit bigger.
Okay.
You gotta put the right angle on there so you don't tear your freaking fingernail back. Put a line in it. Yeah, you got it. You're almost there.
Just cut them.
And then try to get that other piece out. Oh, make sure that the adhesive doesn't touch itself. You're almost touching itself, so I'm just gonna come in and, you see now, I'm just gonna kind of break that free. There we go. And so now, lift that up a little bit and then try to get it to where you can get a nice, like.
Oh, okay, I see it. Peeled up a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine. It can peel up just a little bit. And I'm just saying, you don't wanna like snag it. Remember how we were talking about those like jagged edges on like window tint where it comes in one side? Yep, there you go. And so now just slowly come all the way back around. There you go. Sweet.
And this is for,
That's for the very, very bottom part of the front bumper.
oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sweet.
Good.
So this is good. This is ready. Like, if you got this to where it's like this after you weeded it out, we're heading in the right direction. So the next thing is to start installing film. So we've prepped it with alcohol, and we've got the film printed out here. We're actually gonna weed out, we're gonna get the hood printed out here, and we're gonna put it on top of all this. You can actually even fold this in half and just let it chill and have two tables. We're gonna take the hose, we'll stretch it out all the way. Squeeze them. Stretch it out all the way. Fold this. I like to keep this up here, then grab this off of there, throw it down, and let all the air out. We took the air out of this, so the next thing we're gonna do is just gonna put this down. We're gonna go over to the sink. I like to put this down somewhere where it's not too dirty and that there's not too many edges touching kind of stuff, so that's kind of a perfect spot for it. And we're just gonna dump out the old soap. Boom. And then we're gonna get some gallons of water. I usually like to just put 3 gallons. That way it allows for enough air. So 1. Ooh, double time. Oh, don't spill any. All right. One more. Solid. Cool. So now it's 1.5 of those per gallon. Okay. 1.5 of these measurement, kind of like baby
4.5
formula, whatever, medicine type thing. So yeah. And yeah, you can For these, I'd probably just do 5, just to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a black car. Could probably use a little bit more soap. Cool. So now we're gonna put this back in there. Make sure that we release the air. And then we're just gonna fold this onto it, or put it onto itself once, twice, 3 times. Get it mixed around a little bit. We're gonna go over to the air, grab our air tool, this one here. These tanks can hold a lot of air pressure. So we're gonna put it up to like 90.
Okay.
90 plus. I mean, it can go up to 100. I think this thing's regulated up to 150. Actually, it's 120 it can go up to. So we'll just put it up to like 100. Tank pressure is 160, it looks like. And then the outlet pressure is a little less.
So this thing about 100 throw into it.
Yep. About 100. About 70 right now. About 85. We're at 100, right there. It'll almost stop making noise when it's at 100. So we used to not have one that had a dial on it. So it's just kind of do it until it stops making noise. Kick that off. All right. So now we're gonna put this strategically kind of between the car and our templates, and then we can still reach kind of the furthest piece for the most part with this hose. So now we're gonna kick this back on. So to put it back on, just set it on right there, pull up the kind of locking thing here. There's some bearings inside of here. So go past the bearings and then just kick it on, push it on hard, and we're good to go. There is a filter in here that can get cleaned out every once in a while. It starts to kind of, we use distilled water and we use, you know, nice soap. So it's not really, it doesn't need to get cleaned out every single time, but it is a good idea to kind of pop this thing open. How you would do that is you pull this off, spray the hose out fully, take this cap off of there, and then it's just like a mesh filter. It literally just comes right out, and you can just clean it with your hand, and then clean the cap here, and then there's an O-ring that's inside of here, and an O-ring that's outside of there, and yeah, just kind of, it's super easy to maintain. Cool. So the next thing that we're gonna do is we're actually gonna grab our hood. So in order to do that, we're gonna clear out some space on these. I'm gonna slide this over because I want to use those 2 tables. It's gonna take up those full 2 tables. You're actually gonna help me quite a bit when it comes to putting this on. But I'm just gonna get this folded over onto itself, just like that. And then I can get these 2 tables out of the way just a bit. Just like that. And let's go over here. I'm gonna tug on this just a little bit. Put this down. Rear set. I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna see how big our hood is again. So it's 63, almost 64 inches. So I want 66. So I'm gonna pull it out to 68. Let's see if we've got enough film. I'm at 30 right now. You see, that's what happens when it doesn't get slowly into that. But I know that we're gonna be fine. We're only going in and out once. There we go.
You said you need 60.
66, 68. Yep, 68. So we're almost there. Right there. Because I push it out to 68 because I need to burn 2 inches because I'm not using the crosscut feature. Yeah, I need about 66 inches. So I got it out to 68 right now, and so I'm good. This just helps with material waste because if you're off by a couple inches, it usually works out that the job that you needed a couple inches on is the last job, and you wasted a couple inches on the last couple jobs. So same thing, we're just gonna kind of get this onto itself here. The desk is a little higher behind me, so let me just fold this up onto itself. So. And then since we didn't have to like have any weight behind the machine of film, you can just release that. We're good. Cool. So now we can unroll it over here. Bring these over just a little bit because one person's going to be here, one person's going to be there and there, and then we'll have to like walk around. So want to clear both sides of this. I'm going to unroll this a bit. Boom. We're good. So that's like pretty much ready to install. We're just gonna squeegee off the outside of it, peel it, but we'll get some prep done on here too. So I'll take my ring off and I'm gonna get the big squeegee, which is this one right over here. I think one thing.
More or less shut, so you could wipe off.
Yeah, we're gonna, like right there. I'll talk about what I would look for on that here in just a second. Okay. Just kind of clean this off a little bit. Take some towels, just make sure it's clean. I'll do the same thing for my other squeegees. Make sure they're clean with some soapy water. Just like we're doing the dishes. To decide if I want it open or if I want it closed, so slightly open like this or I want it fully closed, is I'd rather have it to where, you see like the difference between these two body lines? Okay, I want this to be up a little bit, ideally. Now this is what deciphers whether I have it fully open or fully closed. If this is a lot lower than up here, I'll have it, like when it's popped up a little bit, then I'll have it kind of down more. Okay, and that's on both sides, because you know these new cars are never two of the same. You see how this side is actually a bigger gap. So let's see what it looks like when it is closed. It's a pretty smooth transition, a little bit there.
It is also.
A little bit better here. Yeah, so that matters. Because we're gonna tack to right here, when we are trying to get the film down, we don't wanna have to release this tack to push the film down again. So it's kinda important. Now, this looks good. There's not too many weird transitions. This is kind of a harder hood, just because it takes a lot of stretch to get this down right. Now the next thing that we're gonna look for is we're looking for high spots. So high spots are gonna be like, where is the film gonna stick the hardest? And how am I gonna prevent that? The film is gonna stick super hard to here first, because like when you're stretching the film down onto the panel, this is gonna dry out, this is gonna dry out, this is gonna dry out super quick. So like this whole general area, I might wanna prep by putting, you used to use like spray wax. You could just like apply it to these kind of high ridges, and that way the film doesn't stick to it as good. But we have a more specialized product now. It's called PNS S.S.S. So slip, slide, and shine. It's actually made for the vinyl world, but it's really, really good for the PPF world too. When we're actually about to use this, you can see it kind of gets gunked up here, gets gunked up there. There's a lot kind of going on in this bottle. So I shake it up, mix them all together, and then I always just kind of spray this a few times into here, and sometimes you'll see a couple chunks coming out. Okay. So I'll take a towel, glass towel that doesn't have too much lint. I'll put a bunch of it on here like that, and then I'll go through these high spots and kind of these areas I don't want to stick super easily. So like this, basically this whole body line right here.
Could that be universal for any hood scoop, any?
So yes, I mean, yeah. It's
Can't hurt to have too much.
right, but you also don't want to screw yourself by putting it somewhere that you want it to stick.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because it'll stick, it just takes a little bit more time. So like, I wouldn't use this across the edge of a mirror. Like it's just not, I would use it in the middle of a mirror, absolutely, but I would keep it away from kind of some things that you want some hard tack spots to be. So this is good. And I know because I'm actually going to be talking a little bit while I do this, I might take a little bit more time than I usually do. So I'm actually going to do like this whole center even. Just so I can reposition the film a little easier.
And it looks like it dries, but it's still slick up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's like a wax. I mean, it just leaves behind like a spray wax. You know, you use a spray wax, touch the surface again, it's really, really smooth. Same thing. Cool. So that's good. And then now, since we've got this pretty much well prepped, I'm gonna go across this whole edge real quick. Cool. I'm actually just gonna put this back, make sure I don't get it mixed up with the rest of my stuff. We're gonna let that dry for a second, and we're gonna go through and we're gonna pull off our liner from the actual film. So I'm gonna talk you through some stuff. This is a two-person thing, okay? So come on over. We're gonna spray the outside of this. We're gonna squeegee it off. So I kind of work in quadrants. So I like to come right here, come across here. And then kind of wipe it off. Make sure I don't get any dirt to the next panel. Okay. Same thing with right here. Cool. Same thing with right here. Boom. Good. Sweet. So I'm just gonna grab our slip now. Now there's a couple things. Now go ahead and on that side, we're gonna do this together. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna release the backing for the most part across this whole side, and then you're gonna come in, you're actually gonna touch the film too, so let's make sure your hands are kind of sprayed off. Okay. Now, you don't have to do anything right this second. I'll tell you when and what to do, but you can kind of see what I'm doing. So I just kind of get underneath the film, wet it as I'm lifting it. Okay, now I get towards the middle. I'm just gonna start releasing some of this. Now this adhesive is not like window tint. You don't have to worry about touching it as much. As long as it's wet, you can touch it. I'm gonna lift up this here, and now I'm gonna bring these 2 points together so that we can have a nice, flat kind of point. Okay, so now what you're gonna do, now just watch here for a second. Put your hand right here. Grab this end right here. Get a pretty decent grip on it, and we're just gonna slide this nice and slow right there. That's good. So now I'm gonna grab this, and try not to get the hose to touch the edge of the film. That's good right there. Same thing, we're gonna go a little bit further. I like to make it past the halfway point, which is about right there. That makes our other pool a little bit easier. That's solid. All right, so now we can just let this, free it up off of that. It's kind of suction to it. Go ahead. Oh, yeah. So now just let it fold over. Don't pull it too much because you want it just to line up right there. You don't want it to be touching the table, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So we're good there. You're good. Yeah, that's good. I'll just lift this, put that down. And I'll do the same thing for this side. So I'm gonna kind of come after it. Boom. Okay, go ahead and lift it up, yep. And now let's just pull it. All right. One more. Slow, all right, stop. We don't want to shift the film too much to the other side. All right, go ahead and just line up your corner now. Just worry about your corner. We're good. All right, I'm gonna get this big air pocket out of here. Without moving.
It's a little overlapped over.
Yeah, you don't want to move the film too much. So let's just make sure we get this back on the liner just a bit. So this is a flat, pressure sensitive adhesive. Very different than, well, window tint actually has a flat pressure sensitive adhesive too, but this one's a little bit thicker, a little less optically clear when it's not installed. So now we're gonna go through and we're gonna do this. So the first thing I wanna do is wipe this all down with this soapy water. And what this is gonna do is it's going to free up any dirt that's on the surface. I'm also feeling it for any dust nibs or anything that might be left around on the surface. I can feel a little bit of tiny something right here. I think it's actually adhesive from when we did our badge removal. Just a little guy. That's good. Cool. And so now I'm also going to get the fender just a little bit. Now this wiper and all this is not really too close. Usually I will wipe those down. Not with my hand, but I'll use a squeegee to kind of get those taken care of.
Wag it a little bit.
Yep. Just the top of the fender. You don't have to do the whole fender. Just the top. Cool. So now this is the important part, okay? We're going to take this squeegee. I'm going to start in the middle, reaching over the car. Bring this down. Okay, where's dirt gonna be? It's gonna be right here, along this line right here. So I wanna keep bringing that line further and further away until I get all the way to the end. Now, same thing right here. This is all dirt. I'm gonna change my position just a little bit, get into there. Okay, same thing. Now I'm gonna come up just a little bit. You can do up or you can do down, whatever is going to give you the best kind of coverage. Boom, and then the top of the fender. And then I'm going to come across this whole front edge. Cool. And you notice I'm wiping this quite a bit after each stroke, just feeling if there's any dirt. Because if I feel a ton of dirt, then I'm like, okay, I might have to go over this one more time and see where that dirt is coming from. One thing to keep in mind too, I've had this squeegee for a really long time. This is actually a really, really good one. Some of the cheaper ones, if you don't have any moisture on the surface and try to squeegee it like it's dry, it'll actually leave behind a little bit of the plastic. Just kind of looks like kind of like a streak mark of plastic. So this one doesn't do it, but just kind of keep that in mind. We don't want to use this too dry. Cool. So that's good. And then let's go ahead and I know it seems like a lot, but I'm actually going to do that one more time. Boom. Right. All right, so now we're gonna transfer this back onto the car. So I'm gonna get one end, you're gonna get the other, okay? A nice amount of slip on here. I'm actually gonna grab some gel. I'm gonna put gel in kind of these high spot areas and then across the center. This is just gonna take a little bit longer to dry. And so I'm just kind of putting it in some of these problem areas. Good. So now we can grab this. So this is gonna be a little weird for your first one, okay? You're gonna grab that side because you're gonna stay on the driver's side. Okay. Now, go ahead, fold it up like a taco a little bit. Make sure that this doesn't touch anything, okay? So we're gonna come up across here and we're just watching it. We're gonna come up right in the front of the car, okay? We're gonna unfold it, go ahead. Now back up just a little bit. And you see, we're gonna come up to the very top corner of this with your right hand, okay? And I want like an inch.
Okay, touching the window's fine?
Yeah, touching the window is fine, yep. Are you over the edge?
Yes.
Okay, how much are you over? An inch or two? Okay, I'm gonna come over just a little bit more to my side.
That's probably even.
Okay, go ahead and set that down. There you go, good job. Not too much, right? Don't worry about that. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and grab my squeegee. And I'm just gonna go to town, okay? So, I'm gonna grab this edge, push some slip across it.
Screw. I think I'm a little less than you on the set.
Oh, okay, let's see. Oh, okay. It actually slid over just a little bit. Not the end of the world.
Oh, it slid over quite a bit.
Yeah, here, hold it up over there. Pull it.
Pull it?
Yeah, pull it. You're good. It'll look probably about even now.
Yeah, you still have just a touch more, but
Okay,
it's pretty close.
that's fine. We're good. I'm just gonna go ahead and squeegee that corner right there. Now I come over here. Same thing. I'm spraying the adhesive, not the paint. It's just gonna run off the paint, but it'll stay on the adhesive. So now I'm looking at this back edge, just making sure that there's no fingers or anything weird. It looks good. So that's a nice hard tack right there. And now I'm gonna do that whole thing with the front here. Gonna wet it. Okay, I'm gonna wet it over here. All right. Now, we spray this, all the soap off of here. Spray this. Boom. Now I'm gonna do like a stretch. I'm gonna make sure that I get like these fingers out.
And what is
right
the
here.
yellow bottle with this water?
Just water, just distilled water. Okay. Now I'm gonna do this other corner quickly because you see I have this huge finger right here. Okay, now I'm worried about the fingers across here and this finger right here. So I'm gonna get that looking good, that looking good. Okay. Okay, so now I'm just gonna move this around, make sure it's not stuck 100%. I still got a little bit that I probably have to stretch right here. So I'm actually just gonna pick this back up and re-stretch it down. Better now than halfway through the install trying to figure out how the heck we're gonna get this finger down right here. So I'm actually gonna do even more. Big stretch on this one. Okay. Solid. Okay, so now my spots that might dry, I'm just gonna hit them. This might just take a little bit of weird micro stretching. Okay, so now I'm just gonna make sure it's still floating, and I'm just gonna hit That's gonna have to be tweaked a little bit. Now I'm running against time. Cool, this is still moving. Spray just a little tiny bit of water in here. This I can come back into. I am worried about this. So I'm just gonna
Mainly worried about the parts that are pushed really closely onto the paint right now.
Right. Solid. This is good. Okay. Now, I'm just gonna lightly pop up this just to make sure it's still moving. Okay, it is. Come across that. And then as I come up to this edge, I'm gonna spray a decent amount of tack in there. I'm just gonna no. Wow, I'm gonna have to get back into this. It didn't stick hard enough, which is kind of a thing with this film. It gets like a pre-tack mark and it doesn't stick hard enough. So I'm actually gonna like kind of flush out some of the gel and try to just get soap in there, which you do have to be a little bit quicker with, but it'll come out a little bit cleaner. It's just not holding the stretch very well right now. Yeah, see, it's just not. There we go. See if that works. Okay, it's still floating up. Still floating up. I stretch this just a little tiny bit to the side. Okay. Okay. So cold tack doesn't activate the adhesive as quickly. I feel like on this film, we've been kind of testing this new film. And so I wanted, since it was a black car, I actually didn't want it to stick as much, but I think it needs just a tiny bit more stick. So this adhesive is a little bit more tacky than our last adhesive. This is their new line, Incognito X, rather than Incognito T. So we've just started kind of touching this over the last month. And I haven't had too much time to really mess around with it. And I wish I would have messed around with it before a black Grand Cherokee hood. But we'll be okay. Cool. And then let's come up in here. Just gonna make sure.
Water.
I do. Can you fill this up with the hot tack though? Just put it in there. Cool. So I'm gonna wipe down this whole side, just make sure it looks good. Make sure I'm not missing any like big moisture pockets or anything like that. Sweet. Oh yeah. Nice hot tack in there now. Solid. I'm gonna kind of tighten up this edge right here. Just a little tiny bit. I don't want to release my main tack point, but I want to get a little bit closer into here because it has that transition.
Does that work a lot better at the hot?
Yeah, it's gonna make it stick a little bit harder. This adhesive really likes hot tack, but cold tack doesn't damage it as much, but it's that balance between sticking really hard and being forgiving, which we're still trying to figure out with this film particularly, because it does damage adhesive really easily, but we found that when we use hot tack, it does it a lot more. So with the black hood like this, I didn't want to damage as much adhesive, so I used cold, but it's not enough for it to stick as well as it should.
Is that kind of universal where you go side to side and then do you get some metal last?
It depends. But yeah, most of the time you go side to side and then get the middle last, most of the time. So I'm just gonna feed a lot of slip back here because this is all pretty well dry now. I usually like to work a little quicker than that, but kind of weird scenario over there. You get to see it firsthand, live. So just need to make sure that this slip is kind of slipping around. And I'm also gonna kind of pop some edges so that I can watch all the slip run back down. Making sure that all the slip is up to where I've squeegeed. So I don't want it to go, I don't want there to be any dry spots past this point. I want to make sure that there is slip across all of this stuff. So that when I squeegee it, I'm not squeegeeing it into anything that's already tacked. So this is good, cool. And so now that looks really good. So good question, but yeah, I'm actually gonna start kind of going after some of this stuff in the middle here, just making sure that it looks good, because it's gonna dry if I don't. and I'm coming up at it in a different angle because I have such an uneven line here. I can come at it this way and be pretty safe, but if I come at it this way, I might actually bring it into something that might be already squeegeed. So just as I come across it for the first time, I am gonna go a little sideways. But you don't typically wanna bring any more tension side to side than necessary. So now I feel pretty comfortable. I can just get nice, smooth squeegee strokes, bring up some of this stuff. Because you don't want your fingers to be sideways. You want your fingers to go up and down. That way you can get them out and put them up here. So that's good. Again, I'm just gonna wipe this down real quick just to make sure there isn't anything that's hidden. Doing some weird stuff. Looks pretty smooth, looks pretty good. No weird tack marks or anything. Just kind of being extra cautious with this because now I'm back on my, it's been sitting for so long. Okay, so now I'm gonna pop all this back up. I did half of that over there. That can sit now. I feel pretty comfortable about it. Cool, so I'm just gonna come up in here and pop all this stuff.
Add some more.
Slip. Oh yeah, you can add as much slip as you want, especially with like full hoods. It increases your working time, which is good on a hood like this, but on like a Tesla hood, you don't want to do too much of that, you know, because it's such a small hood. You don't want to have too much slip. You kind of want to be a little bit more methodical about it. But this, yeah, you can't go wrong with where we're at right now by just putting more slip. This is good. Now I just kind of want to figure out this tension right here. Might have to get a little bit more side-to-side pull on here to get some of these fingers out of here. So I'm just kind of figuring that out before I start locking in all this. I might have to actually even stretch this just a bit this way.
Or you said that there's like stretch, like marks you can get?
Yes.
Is that just from you just going crazy pulling it?
Well, that you can get over stretch marks like that. I know what you're thinking of. Yes, you can get those. But stretch marks mostly come from stretching something that's and having to re-lift it, reposition it after the stretch on the panel. So it kind of happens a different way, which you'll definitely have encounters with. So yeah, this hot tack makes this a little bit easier to stick. You see how it sticks a little bit harder? Not fighting it as much, yeah. It was just trying to pop on that side. That's nice. Cool. And so now, this whole middle looks okay. So I'm gonna separate this into two, one that's easily accessible, one that's not. So you could just leave it if you wanted, but I'm actually just gonna get this out of the way while I'm right here. So I'm gonna come across this whole body line. This one's gonna go down and the other one's gonna go up. Make sure I get my big air pockets out. Cool. Now, I'm just gonna make sure this is all still floating. You see, the more I pull it this way, that finger gets smaller, but then I make more fingers kind of where I don't want them. So it's just kind of a mix between all of that. Seems like it just needs to get stretched just a little bit more this way. But if I lift this up, there's a big problem. So let me see if I can maybe even stretch it just down a little bit further. Just like that, and it kind of gets rid of some of those fingers and some of these fingers. So let me just make sure this is still moving, because I only really have slip in here now. Felt a little something. I think that would just be on the surface. Okay. Yeah. It's just gonna have to be stretched over just a bit. There is like this weird transition right in here. Kind of fought me on both sides, but it's fine. Okay, let's see where this is all at. That's good. So this, I can actually bring a little bit of slip from over here into this little dry spot that I have here without compromising all of this again. I think it's stuck a little bit, which is good, but I don't want to lift this up too much. I just want to bring slip into some of this and then be able to get some tack in there and just come up. I'm trying to close off these two sections here. Okay. Okay. I do see a little tiny bit of like maybe pre-tack marks right there, which is unfortunate because it means I have to lift this up a little bit. But hopefully I can just kind of pull it just a bit and not let it expand out too much. Well, it's gonna go down. That's fine. As long as this doesn't really lift up, not too big of a deal. So let me just keep that from going. Now you see I'm letting it go down there so that I can just kind of get some slip to touch that dry adhesive. And then now I can get some of that slip up here where my hand's at, take some of this air out, make sure that I have slip in there.
And what was that mark from?
It just dried out a little bit too much to where it left some like little dots in the adhesive, which it's in a body line, so it's not the end of the world, but I'd rather just kind of get it taken care of while I'm right here.
Now, if you didn't sign it, you're all the way down, but then what do you?
It's not really that big of a deal. I could have just left it for that one. It wasn't that big of a kind of defect or anything on the install. Customer would probably never notice. It's just more so for my sake. That's why I always look over where I just worked before I move on, because I can always kind of get into it a little bit easier the fresher it is. Because this adhesive will get, like that side that's done, you couldn't pull that adhesive off without like boiling hot water right now. It sticks really hard, really quick. Yeah. So I'd rather just get it while I'm just like, know that's a fresh kind of install and not have to worry about anything. Now I'm just kind of tightening up these edges. And I should get this down. See how I have this big stretch in here? This might act funny, but we'll see. I just got to get this down a little bit. And you see that big transition, that's gonna mess me up a little bit. So that's why I have to like kind of come into this a little weird. Sorry. A little soap in my eyes. All right. There we go. Really making sure that this has a good bite on it, because this has a high likelihood of curling back now that this transition isn't like flush there. So I have to like pop it up, push, make sure that all the tension stays on this edge rather than here and like separating itself. If that makes sense. You'll know when you start doing this a little bit more. Like, oh, that's how you fix it. All right. So now I can kind of work on this whole middle part here. This looks pretty good. I'm just gonna get this saturated. And I'm actually gonna wipe down on this side just real quick, just to make sure it is still solid. While that's kind of making its way down. Looks good. Cool. I'm gonna slip the top here. I'm gonna make sure none of this is, and you see, like none of this like has really stuck, right? Because there's no tension on it. All the tension's kind of like here, where the big stretches are. You have a body line and a body line, and everything is flat between those two body lines. Like this just floats for like, feels like ever. And you know, we did add some gel in here, so it really does add, like this is already squeegeed, but I can even just put some more slip in there. Like it's really not, it's not gonna stick nearly as hard yet until you really squeegee everything out. But it gives us a lot of working time. So I wanna be able to put all this tension somewhere. If I had to bring that out to the sides, it might be a little bit different. So now I'm just gonna figure out where I can stretch this up so that it holds, which I think is gonna end up being right here. So I'm just gonna flush away some of that soap, get a nice pull, squeegee it a little bit, right there in the middle, okay? And then I can start bringing up all this here. So I'm gonna go past that line that I came down across, right in the middle.
And is there a reason why you're not going just completely straight up?
Because I have a little tack mark right there, and now I'm bringing it up to where I can go straight out. It's drying on me a lot. Okay, so now I can, once I'm past that little tack mark and I get my tensions figured out, I can bring them all straight up out. This. I did squeegee into a part that was already squeegeed, and all I had to do was just spray a little bit more slip into it and re-moisturize everything, and it's good. So now, I want to make sure nothing else gets back into here. I'm just going to spray some tack. Really make sure that this seals up really nice. That's solid. And so you could see, you start to get these weird pools that kind of happen. It's because this isn't completely sealed up on the other side yet. So to always make sure that we kind of come across some of this stuff. You could see kind of that big pool of water that's kind of made its way through here because it wasn't sticking as hard. Which is fine, you just have to be cognizant of it. I know it happens on like half the installs I do, so I just kind of bring this all up. I'm just gonna make sure none of that stuff that snuck on the other side is still there. See, it's sneaky, all this water. It's because there's no bubbles in it. You can hardly see it.
Mm. You want that stuff, Bobby?
No, I'll be okay. Just trying to get this tension where it needs to be now.
Your thoughts? Hot or cold?
He's calling me? What the hell are you calling me for? Oh, he probably wants to get tint on his Lincoln.
I'll tell him I'll answer phone, stop calling.
It's my Ram salesman.
Oh, that's a high quality guy. You can't talk like that.
Right.
Respect.
Is Micah in there screaming?
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
I thought that was you.
Yeah, I thought that was you, Christian, but you came out here and the crying didn't stop.
I messed up.
So there is a little bit of a pre-tack mark kind of right in the middle of all this.
Oh, okay.
That's a pre-tack mark. Luckily, I can still get that out if I come down through the top here. It's a little risky because it is a little low, but let's see what we can do.
Bing bong. All right. Wait, were you thinking of like maybe doing like a Hall fake rock? So is that a little scary when you do that?
Not really.
Not worried about folding, messing it up.
I know that as long as it stays hydrated, we'll be okay. So I got a little bit right there. I guess I'm gonna have to get in there a little bit. It's like right there.
I can get you the step left.
Can touch it. Let's see.
Under it, always.
Okay, I'm gonna have to come in through the bottom now, which this is still good.
Yeah, he's too big right now. He should have got him for recent, but once he's done, I'll have him give you a call and we'll get. I got.
Where the heck is it? There it is. Okay, let's see. Ooh, man, it's tight. It is. It is, but we'll get it. It's good for the video. Okay. Let me see if I can try to get it. It's like literally arm for each. Okay. Might need this. Let me see. Oh, this hood is just not giving me a break today.
So yeah, that's not giving me air fun.
There we go, that's for sure it. Okay, so now we gotta make sure we reset all of our adhesive because we gotta go into this quite a bit. So I'm gonna spray slip across everything. And just make sure I don't have any weird hard lines or anything like that. You see how I had to go pretty wide to just even get inside of there? I didn't just make one straight line. It's because you'll get lift lines if you don't come up to where you know the stretch can be hidden. So like ideally, you would want to lift this back up to this body line and then to this body line so you can hide any lift lines if they do happen. Now I know in this center right here, I don't have much side-to-side tension. All the side-to-side tension starts about right here and starts about right here. So I know I'm not gonna have too much of a lift line issue. So, but I'm still gonna test it out. So I just hit it with hot water to reset the film, kind of get this memory back to wiped. Just gonna make sure it's all moving still. It is. And then I'm just gonna come across these lines and I'm looking at the adhesive to see if there's any disturbances at that line. There's just a color difference. And that color difference is just fine. That means that one side is drier and one side is not. So it's not that big of a deal. Cool. I'm gonna do the same for this side. Just gonna make sure I have some slip in here. And I'm gonna come across this line. Real nice. And there might be a tiny bit of a lift line there, but it's across, it's like in this kind of like curve. So it's not the biggest deal ever. Same thing across all this. There's not a lift line, but there is a clear like difference in what is dry and what's not. Cool. So I'm gonna go through this again, just kind of come up this whole line. That's solid. So now I do have to do my same stretch that I did before, but I'm gonna try to get away with a little bit less this time. Okay, I think we're gonna be good. Let me just kind of start moving here a bit. That's good. Okay. I'm just gonna come across this kind of lower part, make sure nothing came back down into here. Can really see this stuff. This is a good video on the struggle hood. You're gonna have your battles every once in a while, and this is a good video to show that. Okay, so let me get. Okay, so this, because there was too many fingers across the top here, is gonna have to be stretched just a little bit out. So, just like this. I'm just gonna come in the middle of all this, flush away some of the slip. Try to get a nice pull on all this. And how this happens is because we actually had more stretch than I thought at the bottom. And so we didn't stretch this side to side enough, like equal distance. You want to stretch side to side a little less than you stretch up and down there. See if we can get these fingers compressed a bit. Not too much towards where they cause some issues, but just enough. If you're going to use the hard part of the squeegee, you got to make sure that you stop at the edge, not in the middle of the panel, because then you can just get a line. Small tip and trick while I'm dripping sweat.
Glowing.
Huh?
You glow?
I'm glowing? That's funny. I'm sweating. I'm at war right now. I'm just going to keep that down there. This will go. All right, let's go. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna wipe this down, just get the big moisture pockets out of there that might be in the bottom here, and it should be good. Yeah, dude, I don't need to work out, dude, I just do PPF. I'm sure I could have done that a little bit more graceful and better, but we got her down. Still don't want to lift my tack points up, but I just want to lift this up to make sure that all these edges are going to lay down really nice. Got a little bit of dry spots across some of them, so I just want to make sure those stay hydrated. Come across. Real nice. Sweet. Let's grab some tack. So now where this tension is, because of the stretch, might have to use a little bit of tack. And I don't want to lift this main point, but I can lift everything else across it. I feel like this is pretty dry across there, so I think I can actually lift this up and not have any issues. Cool. So now I'm just going around and I'm making sure that every one of these edges is all the way up to the edge. That's not quite to the edge right there. So I'll lift that up, bring it up right up to the edge. Same thing with right here, got a little bit of moisture across that edge. Boom. Right here, I got some moisture in that edge. It's gonna have to be lifted just a little tiny bit. Sweet, this looks good. All that looks good. None of that sneaky moisture coming back. This one right here can get tightened up just a little bit. Okay, you can just skip like the whole hour I was fighting this and just show this. Ah, doesn't this look good? It was easy. Easy hood, man. Anybody can do this.
Social media versus reality.
Yeah, social media versus reality. Dang. That was about, she said that was an hour?
That one was.
The only hood that takes me longer than that, there's a couple. Chevy Silverado 3500s with the hood that has the vent right here. That hood, dude, I've seen people that just mess up a partial front. A full front on that thing is insane. Like, it's the craziest hood ever that I've done. Just fight it. And it gets a little easier the more you do it, but still, like, it's one of those things that's like, takes a really long time. Black is also just your worst friend. Like, it's never good to you. It looks sick when it's done, but it's just never easy. So, yeah. Once it dries out too, it'll kind of clear up a little bit. It looks a little hazy right now, but it'll look really nice.